Hey guys, it's Essentially Meg, and welcome back to my channel. So going into wedding planning, I didn't know that there was an order of operations to who you can book as far as vendors from first to next, because they build on each other. Now that I know this, it kind of makes sense, but I figured that I would provide the list to you guys so that you don't end up contacting people before you're ready to really book them. Now take all of this with a grain of salt. If there are certain vendors that are absolutely crucial to you booking because you want them and nobody else, then you should probably move them up in the list. But like I said, some decisions build on top of other decisions, and some vendors won't even work with you until you have others booked. And based on what I've already figured out, this is the list of vendors in the order which you should probably consider booking them. First off is a wedding coordinator. Regardless if you want a destination wedding or a back home wedding, if you aren't type A, into the details, driven, need to have things done, it might be helpful to employ somebody who will help you make those decisions and who will do that research ahead of time and present you with your options. You don't need a wedding coordinator, but I actually follow one on YouTube. I'm not having one myself, but I've learned so much from this channel about wedding planning. It's Jamie Wolfer, and I'm actually going to put her channel link in the description below for you to check out. Even without having a wedding coordinator, you can totally pull this off. Now I'm going to be covering both destination wedding planning as an option and non-destination wedding, so just back home and a normal wedding. So if you're having a destination wedding, then picking your resort or your destination, so location, is the most important thing, the number one first thing that you should be looking into. Because if you don't have a date, that is the first thing that other vendors are asking you. What is your date? Am I available on your date? If you don't have a venue, you don't have a date. So for a destination wedding, look into those resorts, look into their packages, talk to their wedding coordinators on site, and figure out which one you want to go with, and then book that date. If you're having an in-town wedding, then you have to think about the ceremony location for that as well. So again, the date that your wedding is going to be on is going to determine everything else. So the spaces that you're going to have your wedding in need to be available. Booking your ceremony location and your reception location should be the first things on your list. That also goes for a destination wedding that's going to have a back home reception. You should be looking into that reception location and booking that as soon as you can, because all of these other vendors that I'm going to talk about rely on that date. Now, the next vendor that you should look into is your photographer. Now, the good ones will book up quickly and well in advance, so I would say once you have your wedding reception date, then you should be looking into which photographer you want to use. Now, I actually went a little bit out of order, and I started trying to work with my photographer before I even had a date. So this is why I learned that you need to go in certain order. But thankfully, I'm so far out from my wedding that I was able to stay in contact with my photographer while getting all these other dates booked. And as soon as I got those dates, I fed them to her, and we were able to get a contract out. But save yourself a little bit of that back and forth work and just go with the reception location first, the ceremony location, and then start contacting the other vendors. Now, if you're just having a destination wedding and no back home reception, the destination wedding should have packages that include almost all of the other vendors. Now, you can start to think about maybe you want a different officiant, or you want to bring in your own photographer, or maybe the resort doesn't have the flowers you want. So those would be the next ones that I would start looking into, but those don't need to happen until like maybe 6 months before, with the exception of the photographer. That should probably come quickly. But for the officiant, the flowers, anything else that you want to bring down with you, I would say those can wait until a little bit closer to the wedding date. Now, if you're having a in-town wedding or a back home reception, you need to look into what team of vendors you are going to build in order to have your reception back here. Now, usually the most expensive thing in a wedding is the food, so I would say go with the caterer next, making sure that you are happy with the caterer choice that you have, what food options they have, and booking them for that date. Caterers can also come with the wedding venue location, so that's actually what's going to happen in my case with my back home reception, is that my venue already has on-site catering. This also goes for the baker if you're not using the same place. The next group of people would probably be the DJ, the florist, the officiant, especially if they aren't going to be provided by your reception location. And last, you should look for guest accommodations if you're having an in-town reception or an in-town ceremony itself. That would mean that you would need to look for a hotel that is nearby, that has good reviews, and that is reasonably priced for your guests. And as always, research as much as you can before signing a contract. Even if you lose out on your number one vendor, there's always other options. It's not the end of the world. And if you aren't happy with a vendor's standard contract, don't be afraid to tell them. There's always room for negotiation. It means that you might have to pay more to get exactly what you want, but it's better to ask all of those questions in those meetings rather than walking out of the meeting with unanswered questions and the possibility that you won't be satisfied in the end. Now, I'm planning on making a future video of all of the questions that I'm asking my vendors in the contracting and beginning process. So stick around for that, hit subscribe and like if you liked this video. So the question of the day is, to you, what is the most important vendor at your wedding? Is it the location that you're getting married at, or is it the location of the reception? Is it the photographer, like me, because that's what you take forward with you is the pictures? Is it the food? I know a lot of guys prioritize the food. Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, bye.